Namaste all. Thanks for joining us today. We didn't really advertise this properly, so we may not have too many people, but I'm sure that people watch it afterwards. So thank you again for those who joined us. We are going to start live streaming again, hopefully on a weekly basis, with some breaks, of course. So let's begin with 3 Oms as always, and from there we will sing the mantras. You need to go in the description section below the video to see the mantras that we're talking about. I'll sing it and then you follow as always. Okay? Today's topic, by the way, is very, very interesting and it's very high level. In other words, the level of the discussion that Shri Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita is very, very high. So you will come to see that. What are the characteristics or marks of a self-realized soul? So we'll get into that a little later. Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gum Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Eim Saraswatyai Swaaha. Shreem Lakshmyai Namaha. Dum Durgaayai Namaha. Om Kleem Kaalikaayai Namaha. Ram Ramaaya Namaha. Kleem Krishnaaya Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwaraha, Gurur Saakshaat, Parabrahma, Tasmai, Shri, Gurave, Namaha. So Guru is Brahma, Guru is verily Vishnu, Guru is Maheshwara, that is to say Shiva. So Guru is creator Brahma, Guru is sustainer Vishnu, and Guru is also the dissolver Maheshwara, that is to say Shiva. Gurur Saakshaat Parabrahma. Guru is verily and really in his true form Parabrahma, Almighty God Himself. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. To such a Guru, we do our own namaskars or pranam. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Sarvamangala Mangalye. So this is a prayer to Durga or Shakti or energy, cosmic energy. So Sarvamangala Mangalye. So Mangala means auspiciousness, sacredness, holiness. So she is everything that is holy or sacred or auspicious. Sarvamangala Mangalye. Shive Sarvartha Sadhike. Sharanye Trayambake Devi. Narayani Namostute. Om Shri Ram Jai Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Ram Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Ram Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Ram Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Rama is an avatar of Lord Vishnu who came down, and this simple mantra known as Taraka mantra makes our mind transcend above our normal context. Okay, so that is why it's known as Taraka mantra. Everybody can say this mantra in its full form. Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama. That's it. So my father had thousands of devotees all over the world write this in notebooks. So many people wrote Shri Rama Jai Rama thousands of times, 1008 times, or filled it with so many books, right? Handwritten Om Shri Rama Jai Rama. Every time you write it, your mind should go there. Every time you write it, your mind should go there. So we had literally hundreds of thousands of copies of these books, okay, and so many mantras, all put in these underneath of the two pillars that surrounds the Vishwa Vijaya Vittalaya Navarashram. So it's all there, basically sending out tremendous blessings of Lord Rama. So it's all there, and I think we should continue to do that and send those books back to Vishwashanti Ashram when it's done, right? What do you do with it after you write it? My wife is writing that every day. I'm doing some, but after it's done, I'll if you're interested, I'll let you know. We'll send it back to our ashram in India, and it can be placed at the feet and the holy presence of Lord Vittala there, and it will bring great blessings to everybody, great peace of mind. This is known as Taraka mantra. We'll do it again. Om Shri Rama Jaya Rama.
Om Shri Rama Jaya Rama.
Jaya Jaya Rama.
Jaya Jaya Rama.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Rama Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Rama Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Rama Jaya Rama. Jaya Jaya Rama. This next mantra, of course, everybody knows, but it's one of the most famous of the Maha Mantras, or the great mantras. Not all mantras are equivalent, as you can imagine. This is known as Maha Mantra, one of the great mantras. So is, by the way, Shri Rama Jaya Rama that we just sang. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Pandurangaya. And then finally the Shanti mantras, that is Sarvesham swastirбhavatu. Let everyone be well and happy. Sarvesham shantirbhavatu. Let all be peaceful. And this is not just people, all creatures, all creation, right? Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Let everyone be whole, let everything be whole. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Let everything be holy and sacred. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. We wish for everybody to be happy and peaceful, right? Sarve santu niramaya. Let no one have any diseases or illnesses. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. So this is a Shanti mantra. You have to feel what this mantra is saying as we say it. Okay? Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Sarve bhavantu sukinaha. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhavantu sukinaha. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Guru Pandharinath Maharaj ki jai. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Narayana Bhagavan ki jai. Sadashiva Bhagavan ki jai. Syavar Ramachandra ki jai. Sab sadhu santan ki jai. Sadguru Maharaj ki jai. So I'm just going to check to see whether everybody can hear us fine, whether they can see us fine, etc. Can you give me some feedback? Because I'm operating all this technology alone. Krishna is not here, he's in college. And by the way, Amma is in India. She is in the ashram with my brother Murli. So those two are taking good care of things. They're a little bit jet lagged. They just left about a little under a week ago, I would say. Yeah, so they're doing fine. So thanks again for joining us. We'll do the bhajan now. Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai. Very simple, very nice. Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai. Guru Maharaj, Parabrahma Sadguru Jai Jai. Parabrahma Sadguru. Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai. Parabrahma Sadguru Jai Jai. Parabrahma Parabrahma Sadguru Dayala. Parabrahma Sadguru. Sadguru, Sadguru, Sadguru. Jai Parabrahma Sadguru. Jai Jai Parabrahma. Jai Jai Parabrahma Sadguru. Alaksha Arupa Anama Advaya Akshaya Paratparu Guru Maharaj Guru Jai Jai Guru Maharaj Parabrahma Sadguru Rami Ramadas Jai Rami Ramadas Jai Rami Ramadas Jai Gopal Karuna Karu Gopal Karuna Karu Guru Maharaj Guru Jai Jai Parabrahma Sadguru Jai Jai Parabrahma Sadguru Jai Jai Parabrahma Sadguru 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 Dattatreya Maharaj ki Jai. Okay. I'll turn this off. Maybe not. Maybe what we'll do is Radha, give me that. Wonderful. Oh, volume is lower than usual. Okay, I'll try to turn it up. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, let me know if that's any better. So if you go down, this topic is kind of deep. But we are not afraid here. One second. Let me just shut this down. I'm getting an echo here. So this is from chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. And chapter 2 is called Sankhya Yoga. And to give you a little bit of context, right? I think most of you know this already, but in case you don't, Bhagavad Gita is part of the great epic written by sage Vedavyasa, known as the Mahabharata. Mahabharata has 100,000 verses, within which 700 of the verses is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay, 700 of those, and that is intended to teach us through Arjuna, through his disciple Arjuna, who was a warrior who didn't want to fight. In other words, he didn't want to do his duty. And it turns out that Shri Krishna had to teach him. He was under the delusion that doing his duty as a warrior to protect his country, his dharma, all these things are not good. To be passive and to not do his duty is actually dharma. He was deluded to think that some sages, some saints, some pious people, they have a certain dharma. Okay? In other words, they have a certain path that they need to follow. And that's the path I am going to also follow. Krishna straightens him out on those things. That is, each of the classes of people, when I say classes, I don't mean it in a negative way. But you have, if you are born as a Brahmana and you are studying the scriptures and you are there to do service for the public, whether it's pujas or whether it's satsangs or whether it is understanding and teaching the inner meaning of scriptures and all that, that's what's called as a Brahmana. So to tell the stories of God, to sing bhajans, okay, all these things are Brahmana duties. if a Brahmana gives that up and goes in and does war, right, and acts as a soldier, that is not the right path for somebody who is a Brahmana. Just as it isn't the right path for the warrior who has duties associated with politics, associated with protecting the country. Traditionally, if they don't do that, that group of people are not doing their dharma. So Arjuna here was not doing his dharma. He was thinking that, oh, I don't want to fight this war, I don't want to do anything. There's no benefit of doing anything, so I just want to go to the Himalayas and sit there and meditate. Because what's the point of fighting my own kith and kin and gaining a few assets and being in the palace for a little bit if it means that I have to kill off these guys? Krishna teaches him those guys tried to kill you and your brothers many times over, right? And they're not giving you what's rightfully yours. You have to stand your ground, you have to fight. Because they have adharma, we have dharma. So Krishna teaches him that being passive, being a pacifist, being timid is not the correct dharma for a warrior. Okay, they have to fight, understand the right causes, understand that they're on the right side of the equation, and fight. Now this is a metaphor, of course. The idea is that we have to fight for inner dharma, right? We have to fight our own enemies and demons inside. That is the real meaning. So anyways, all that background is done. So the first chapter of this is where Arjuna is completely confused and depressed and down. And Krishna teaches him about what is dharma. Krishna teaches him about what is considered, in fact the chapter title is Sankhya, okay, Sankhya Yoga. So in that, Krishna teaches Arjuna that you are confusing your dharma with everybody else's dharma. Do yours, okay? It's unfit for a warrior to sit like a coward, sit like a very scared individual who is hiding behind the guise of doing dharma, right? That this is not right. So he teaches him that whatever you are supposed to do, understand, Arjuna, I am in everything. Understand also that all the things that you think you are doing, I have already done them. Okay? Nothing is under your control. Everything is under my control. Okay? All you will do is execute your karma. That's all. Okay? So stay detached and all these things. He tells him all the things. And one of the key statements there is those who, you're afraid to destroy your kith and kin and your uncles and the like. Don't be worried about that, because those who are born will die and those who die will again be born, as long as karma is in cycle. So he tells him all these tremendous things, great words of wisdom. Arjuna starts to calm down. Then he teaches him something called Buddhi Yoga, that is yoga of the intellect, how the intellect should operate. Okay, if you are thinking clearly about what is real, what is unreal, what you should attach to, what you should not attach to, and all this. So being inspired by that line of teaching that Krishna has, the last section of chapter 2 is known as Sthita Prajna Lakshana. It's a mouthful. Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Okay, that is to say, my father used to call it as what are the marks of a realized soul. Okay, or you can think of it as markers of a realized soul. How would you know when you see a self-realized master? Or what are the characteristics, right? So Lakshana means that. Lakshana means what are the markers or characteristics of a Sthita Prajna. Let me define what that means. Sthita means steady. One who is established unwaveringly, okay? Who is completely steady, who is completely established. Sthita, okay? Prajna means there are many interpretations of all these depending on the context. It could mean wisdom, it could mean knowledge, but it also could mean prajna means awareness or consciousness, right? So you can say sthita prajna means one who is steady or completely established within awareness or within consciousness, okay, or that higher level of wisdom. So Arjuna asks Krishna, what are the marks of such a established person, sthita prajna, okay? By the way, Madhvacharya's other name, he was called as Purna Prajna. That means, Purna means full, right? Complete. Purna Prajna means someone who is aware, okay, of everything all at once. So full consciousness. So here, coming back to this, Sthita Prajna. So Arjuna asks, I'll just sing you a small piece. My father used to sing this. What are the marks of a realized soul? One who has God as his goal. So that's in his little yellow book that he were intended for singing purposes. So here, let's get into this. Again, in your description part below the video, you will see this. So if you can, I'm going to put you through a lot of Bhagavad Gita Sanskrit here. We're both nervous. I'm nervous, my wife is nervous, because it's Bhagavad Gita, right? It's not that easy, at least for the two of us. So let's see. Arjuna Uvacha Sang Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava. We'll do it again. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava. Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. So what this is, translation would be, Arjuna is curious from all of Krishna's discussions so far. He says, Krishna, you talk about people who are in this state called Sthita Prajna, right? Who have conquered the Indriyas, the five senses that we have, and they're able to somehow be above it all, right? How do I know when I'm looking at such a person? Do they dress in a certain way? Okay, how do I know? So more specifically, he says, O Keshava, what is the disposition of one who is situated in that consciousness? How does an enlightened person talk? How do they talk? How do they speak? Are there any things, right? Does it have to be in some elevated language? Is it a matter of ordinary language? Is it simple to understand? That's what he's driving to. And then how does he sit? Very straight, bent back like I have, or is it some kind of big yogic practice? Is it immediately visible? How does he walk? How does he carry himself? So instead of talking about how a person sits and walks and all that, Krishna answers it thusly, right? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha Nyevatmana Tushtaha Sthita Prajnasya Dochyate. So, again, tremendous meaning put very simply. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, that means the Blessed Lord said to Arjuna to answer his question. He says, O Arjuna, one who discards all selfish desires and cravings of the senses that torment the mind. Okay? I'm coming back to this to discuss this a little bit more, and become satisfied in the realization of his true self. Such a person is said to be transcendentally situated. That is Sthita Prajna. So let's talk about this for a second. Again, if you have any commentary or anything, please put it in. I'll take a look and we can discuss it. We don't have too many people here, so we'll see. So what it means is, remember we've talked about this before. One who discards all selfish desires. Prajahati yada kaman. That's what that means. Kama means desire, right? So one who discards or throws away all these selfish desires. You can have desires, but selfish desires you cannot have. The reason? Because it's binding.
Yeah.
As soon as you have selfish desires, that means you want to accumulate, you want to have, you want to conquer people to get it, you want to defeat things, right? That's what it means. In other words, you have, as soon as you have desire of any kind, it's binding. So Krishna says, conquer that, discard it, okay, all the desires and cravings of the senses. Okay, again, what are the senses? Indriyas, right?
Yeah, it's Indriya. Yeah.
What is that?
Eyes, ears.
Yeah,
nose,
sense of sight,
yeah.
taste, touch, smell and hearing. 5 senses. We are born with it, we're kind of bound to it. It's a little bit hard to rise above that. But Krishna is saying a Sthita Prajna, right? The master has already given up selfish desires and is not tormented by having cravings after cravings after cravings of the senses. If you look at our any given day, that's what we're doing. We get up, immediately we want to eat or drink something, right? And then after some time, we again want to eat or drink something. This is just a simple, stupid example, but we go through that during the day, all throughout the day, and in between, we're trying to figure out what makes us happy. Is it the touch of something? Is it the smell of some good aroma? Is it eating something, right? Or hearing very good music or whatever have you. These are all sense cravings. We try to relax and get something pleasurable rather than be in any difficulty or in any pain. The Sthita Prajna has gone beyond that. So what does it mean then? It means that he's become satisfied in the realization of his own self. So he's basically said no to all this, trained the mind to say that's not this, not this, not this. Neti, neti. The Upanishads call that neti. Not this, not this, not this, not that. Then what? Then you slowly in meditation you come down to realization of the self. And such a person revels in the self, right? So they don't need any external anything. They can get lost in the self with no thought, no analysis, no intellect, no anything. You remove the senses and its influence and how it's driving you, and you remove the mind and the intellect eventually, so that you can just be. Okay? That's what this is. Such a person is said to be transcendentally situated. Isn't it beautiful? Like I said, it's very high teaching. Next. You ready? Dukkeshvanudvignamanaha दुःखेषु दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते. So, very beautiful again. You will see what the meaning of Vitaraga Bhayakrodha means. So, here, Dukkha, as you know, is the opposite of Sukha. Right? Sukha, Dukkha. This is used all the time. In fact, my father used it in a lot of his bhajans. Because it's a key phrase. Dukkha means misery, sorrow, unhappiness. Right? Sukha means the opposite of that. Right? Happiness, well-being, in a very good mood, etc. So dukkha is what we are trying to avoid. Sukha is what we are trying to gain. Krishna has pointed out long ago in Bhagavad Gita that those are the two things that drive whatever it is that we do. Okay? Sukha and dukkha. That is, we want more sukha, more pleasure, and we want to avoid all pain. That's what it is. And those two forces drive us to do all kinds of things all throughout life. So here what Krishna is saying is this. One whose mind remains undisturbed amidst any misery, right? Any dukkha. So any difficulty come to such a person, right? Physically, any difficulty comes, any pain comes. Mentally, any pain comes. Emotionally, any pain comes, right?
Yeah.
Any of these things, he is not, I say he, but such a person is not disturbed at all. Okay? Neither do they crave for pleasure. So in other words, they are not trying to avoid pain, dukkha. Neither are they trying to chase after pleasure. Okay? Such a person who is also free from attachment, fear, right, and anger. So what are the words for that? Vitaraga bhaya krodha, right? Bhaya means fear, krodha means anger, right? Raga in this case means not raga as in singing raga, melody, not that. Raga in this case means attachment. Okay? So, Vitaraga bhaya krodha, right? Sthitadhir muniruchyate. Such a person is called a muni. Muni means what? Great sage, right? So such a person is established in such a consciousness, such a wisdom, such an awareness. That person is indeed called a muni. Okay? Alright. So the next one, I hope you are finding this not just informative but inspirational. I find it very inspirational. It's very high teaching and it's something that we need to aspire to. So in that sense, I am very inspired by all that. And then next. Ready, Radha?
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. Yada samharate chayam Yada samharate chayam Kurmongani va sarvashah Indriyan indriyatebhya Indriyan indriyatebhyah Tasya prajna pratishtitah Tasya prajna pratishtita. So again, tremendous. I didn't do the whole thing. I've selected some, as you can see. I have 54, 55, 56, 58, 59, 62 and 63. Just some select ones from that. So what does it mean? Yada samharate chayam. Yada means one who. Okay, yada, one who. Samharate destroys, right? So where am I here? Okay, chayam means it's a combination of word cha and ayam, and this. That's what it means. Chayam. Kurma means tortoise. Okay. You may be thinking, what does a tortoise have to do with anything here? Why is Krishna bringing a tortoise into the picture?
Yeah.
Right? Kurmongani. So, angani, anga means in this case limbs. Okay?
Yeah.
So, tortoise and its limbs. Right? Then Sarvashaha, fully. Right? Indriyani. Indriya means again the five senses as I mentioned. Indriyartebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtitaha. Tasya means his. Prajna means, as you know, consciousness. Pratishtita means fixed in. So, what does it mean? One who is able to withdraw, right, his senses from their objects. Okay? There are sense objects all over the place. So, pizza would be a sense object. Right? It's for taste. It may be for smell and sight. It's not for hearing really, per se, right? Alka-Seltzer may be for hearing. And for other ailments. But the point is there are objects for each of these senses to consume. So he says one who is able to withdraw the senses from their objects, just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs anytime it sees any danger. Okay? So does the yogi withdraw their senses just like the tortoise. Just take all the senses so that it's not affected by the objects of the senses, just like a tortoise does, right? Withdraws everything as soon as they sense any kind of danger to their spiritual path. That is their secret to staying established without getting distracted. Does that make sense? So it's a beautiful saying here. So we have to remember that it paints a picture, right? Just as a tortoise does that, we have to try and practice to withdraw our senses. Beautiful, right? How is that done? Right? How is it done? It cannot be fully done by our own efforts. It requires the grace of the Guru and requires the grace of God. Krishna actually says much later that that's what's required. But he also makes the statement that it's related but not necessarily here. He says when the Atma decides to give its grace to you, right? To such a person, Atma fully reveals itself. Atma means the true self. So it's through these practices, we withdraw the senses, we try. It's the effort, honest effort, pure effort, that we try, and we try to stay on the spiritual track. As soon as we see danger, we withdraw our senses from the object. Okay, that's what it means. I think it's very beautiful. So that's what that is. So yada samharate chayam. I'm doing the same mantra again because I love that. Yada samharate chayam kurmongani vasarvashaha indriyartebhya tasya prajna pratishtita. And then next, if you'll sing this after me. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param dushtva nivartate. Again, very beautiful. Let me give you the meaning. Vishaya means, as you know, what does Vishaya mean in normal language, in normal Indian languages?
Kama, Krodha.
No. Vishaya means, normally, when we say Vishaya means matter, right? So when you say what's the matter or what's the news, we normally say Vishaya. But in this context, Vishaya means object of senses, okay, sense objects. That is to say, like I said, see good food, that's a sense object. You hear a good music or good sound, that's a sense object, right? Or it could be bad sound, but it's still a sense object. So Vinivartante means restrain. Niharasya, practicing self-restraint, okay? Dehinaha, for the embodied, okay? Rasavarjam means cessation of taste. Rasaha, taste. Api, however, right? Asya, persons. Param means parama, as in supreme, right? Drishtva means realization. Nivartate, ceases to be. So what does that all mean? Means aspirants such as you and me, aspirants may restrain the senses from their objects of enjoyment, but the taste of sense objects still remains. This is kind of deep. You can think about it. Just because I go into meditation today and say, okay, I've had enough of everything, I need something higher. So I start meditating and I control my senses. Okay? And I limit the sense objects all around the house so that I don't get tempted. They say in doing dieting, Radha, I think you know this already, but they say in doing dieting, one of the most effective ways to not eat junk food is to not have it in the house. Never, don't buy any junk food, only buy things that are good for you and have it around the house. That way it takes a lot of effort for you to go somewhere, get the junk food and come back. So then what happens is you're eating less junk food as time progresses. So one of the favorite techniques of yogis, why they run away from home and go deep into the forest where there's nobody, is to avoid objects, okay, for their senses to get attracted to. Okay, that's why they go. So if you find some yogi and they're just in a remote location in the Himalayas, we've seen that, right? We go to higher and higher up in the Himalayas, people are living there alone, okay, and just practicing spiritual things. What are they really doing? They're trying to limit or eliminate all the objects that they could get attracted to through the sense objects. That's one way. So what Krishna is saying here is, that may be, but the reality is the memory of it remains. You already experienced it once, right? I could run away from here to the Himalayas, sit there, right, for a month, 2 months, 5 years, right? But I kind of still remember, it's NFL season. That was great fun when we were watching football or basketball, or it was also great fun. Do you remember that taco place we went to? It was amazing, right? It doesn't matter where you are, your mind, all those impressions are already there. Those are known as vrittis. Those impressions and vasanas are already there. So just because you try to restrain it today doesn't mean the taste of those things are gone. They still remain. So Krishna says here, however, even this taste ceases for those who realize the Supreme. Okay? So in other words, until you realize the Supreme, those things can still shake you. You're not quite established. So in other words, until you have reached self-realization, you are not a sthita prajna. You're on the way. You are more and more and more advanced, but you have not achieved the destination. It's kind of like two people on a highway, right? Going to, say, Finger Lakes, right? Here in New York. Finger Lakes. You're going, right? We start today and we take a trip, right? Let's say we started at 10 in the morning. Somebody else started at 2 in the afternoon, right from our neighborhood. It's very rare that we'll get there at the same time. We are ahead or more advanced than the guy who started at 2 o'clock, right? Stupid example. It makes the point though that there are advancements in spirituality as we go, and then there are the people who have reached the destination. Okay? And they are the ones who will never sway because they're already established in that destination of consciousness. Whereas everybody else is trying to advance through yogic practices, through a variety of things, right? To try and get there, through selfless service, through devotion, through yogic practices, through meditation, whatever, right? And they're making their journey more and more advanced, and they're situated there for a time. But these states remain that Krishna talks about, right? It's all there. So next, we only have, I think, 2 more, right, brother? Okay, so this is again, I included these 2 because the meanings are just phenomenal. It's almost formulaic. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुरुषः. Sorry, I misread this. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगास्तेषु विजायते. संगास्तेषोपजायते. Good. संगाः संजयते कामः. कामात् क्रोधो विजायते. Again, very beautiful. So I'm going to tell you what it means. Okay, so here's what it means. Okay, dhyayet comes from the word dhyana, right? Dhyana. Dhyana means meditation, right? In this case, it means contemplation. So vishayan, again, sense objects, not senses, sense objects. Pumsa means of a person. Okay. Sangha means association. In this case, it means attachment. Teshu means to them. Upajayate means arises. Sangat, from attachment. Okay. Sanjayate means develops. Kama means desire, as you know. Kamat means from desire. Krodha means anger. Abhijayate means again arises. So what does this mean? While contemplating on the objects of senses, one develops attachment to them. Okay? Krishna is pointing out what the problem is, right? For most of us. When you think about an object, right? Let me give you an example. Supposing I want to buy one of these 4K cameras, right? Yeah. And a brand new thing came out. I say, oh, mine is 3 years old. Or better example would be Apple had a big event announcement the other day, and they announced some iPhones, new ones with so much capability, and then they announced something else and something else. So you look at their tremendous marketing and advertisement, and then I don't have it, but I'm contemplating it. I'm thinking, reading news about it, reading reviews, reading this and reading that. What am I doing? I am continuously cycling or putting that in a loop where I'm constantly thinking about that. Thinking. It's a sense object at the end of the day. That's what Krishna is saying. I'm thinking about that sense object. I don't have it. I'm just thinking about it in an endless loop. Like many younger boys and girls, high school people or maybe younger than that, they're always thinking about a boy or a girl that they don't have yet. They haven't said a word to each other, but they're always thinking, right? And create a whole big dream world inside. That's what that is. So when you contemplate on such sense objects, one develops an attachment to them. Okay? You don't even have to own it. You don't have to have it in your hand. Somehow attachment builds. Okay? Attachment then leads to desire. Okay? Tremendous desire for that object. And from that desire arises anger. Okay? Not if you can have it, it's only when you cannot have it. Okay? So that's what it is. So whenever you have this, think about the formula here. Okay? You go on thinking about something that you don't have yet, and suddenly that looping, okay, your fantasy, your dream, suddenly you develop an attachment to the object that you don't even have. And that attachment, okay, that moha leads to somehow a desire to acquire it, to have it. Okay? And that desire builds and builds. But if you cannot have it, suddenly you become very angry. Okay? Frustrated and angry. That's what that means. Kamat krodho bijayate. Right? That's what that means. So I think it's just tremendous. So we have to think about this. This is not modern psychology. This is Krishna teaching that, thousands of years ago. So it's tremendous. So I included the next one, which is related. Let's go through that one, and then I will read you something from Guruji's Bhagavad Gita and Bible book, where he says how to become a Sthita Prajna. How do you become a person who is a Sthita Prajna? How do you establish yourself in that? So he's written it down. I'll read it to you. Last stanza. Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti bhramshad buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashyati. So again, tremendous formula that Krishna teaches us. I've talked about this before long ago, but the point of the satsang is to try and remind ourselves what this means. Krodha, as you know, is one of the 6 enemies that we have internally. So Kama, Krodha, it's the second one. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada and Matsara, 6. Kama means desires. Krodha means anger. Mada is arrogance. Kama, Krodha, Lobha is the third one. Lobha means greed. Kama, Krodha, Lobha. Moha is attachment. Mada means arrogance. And Matsara is jealousy. So those are the 6. So here Krishna says, remember, from desire, when you cannot have an object, sense object, it turns into tremendous anger, right? So he's continuing on. Such anger, okay? Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Okay? This is not moha now, sammoha. Okay? That means that that kind of anger, tremendous all-consuming anger that you have and frustration confuses you. Okay? It clouds your judgment. Sammoha means clouding of your judgment. That is to say, intellect has checked out. Right? Your thinking power is gone. You are that angry. Right? That frustrated. So what's the problem with that? Krishna says, sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Okay? Smriti means memory. Okay? Vibhramaha means it is confused. It's in bewilderment. Right? So this kind of lack of judgment, you are so angry that your judgment is completely gone. Okay? And from that, you also lose your memory. Okay? And then smriti bhramshat. Smriti bhramshat means when your memory is completely confused, destroyed, you can say, completely confused, completely in bewilderment, right? Buddhi nashaha, right? What happens is you destroy your intellect. And I'm coming back to that in a second. And buddhi nashat pranashyati. That means once the intellect is ruined and destroyed, you in effect are destroyed. You are ruined. Okay? So it's a formula. What he says is, Um, well, let me come to this, the buddhi nashat. Okay. Um, how is it that smritir bhramshat buddhi nasha? How is it that loss of memory, right? Memory loss leads to destruction of the intellect. If you think about it, okay, you need a set of memories in order for the intellect to take that and analyze it. Okay? So the shorter the memory, the less the intellect can analyze. It doesn't have any data. So the sense objects give us the data. The senses pick up that data, feed it to the mind, the mind then feeds it to the memory for the intellect to analyze. The minute that memory gets destroyed, right, the less memory you have, the less the intellect has to process. So you cannot analyze without memory. Okay? This was known already. Krishna is just putting it in very simple terms. That is, your desire, your attachment, first of all, your fantasy, okay? Start from one shloka ago. Your fantasy, right? Your you contemplate the sense objects, you fantasize about it to the point, you loop it, to the point where you create an attachment for it, moha. The attachment then turns into, I must have it. It creates a tremendous desire. If that desire cannot be fulfilled, you become angry and frustrated. But with tremendous anger comes cloudy judgment, right? You're not thinking properly. Okay, you cannot take a step back and observe what's happening. From that, you will have a loss of memory. Okay? These are all intense. Okay, I'm not talking about just light something here and there. It's not light in nature. These are all to the extreme. And from loss of memory, you lose your ability to analyze anything. You lose your intellect because it's rendered useless by loss of memory. And when you lose your intellect, you have lost everything. Okay? One is ruined. Pranashyati means that. Okay? So I will stop it here. The last stanza, I'm not going to make it sing that, but it says here, but the one who controls the mind and is free from attachment and aversion, even while using these objects of senses, in other words, without any attachment, without any desire, you use it for the purpose of executing your karma, attains the grace of God. Okay, so says Krishna, and then the chapter ends. It's a very long chapter with 64 or so verses. So I hope you enjoyed this original Bhagavad Gita. So in this, thank you, Radha. In this, I marked a page here where, oh, you know what? We took the page out, so here it is. Anyway, I remember the page number. So listen to this, okay? This is in Guruji's book of Essence of Bhagavad Gita and Bible. The beginning part of it is actually just Bhagavad Gita and goes through chapter by chapter without going through the mantras that we just sang, okay? So, Sthita Prajna, the perfect person, perfect man, the goal of the Gita. Sthita Prajna is a man of perfect consciousness. He is established in the truth. He is the embodiment of love. He has attained the perfect wisdom. He is compassionate. He has conquered all cravings. He has transcended the ego and desires. He has transformed lust into love. He has subdued anger. He has sublimated emotion into devotion. He treats good and evil, pleasure and pain, loss and gain, honor and ignominy alike. He is delighting in the cosmic self. He remains unperturbed in the pairs of opposites. He has attained the calm of being. He is a man of stable mind. Mind and senses are perfectly controlled by him. He has attained equanimity. He is a God-realized soul. He is fearless. He is full of bliss. He sees God everywhere and in everything. He is an illumined person. He is the awakened one. He is a steadfast seer. He moves free from attachment. He has attained the Brahmi state, absorption in God. He has gone beyond the three gunas and is established in the realm of the free. And then he goes on to say, I'll try to read you a little bit of things here. The way to become such a perfect Sthita Prajna. Okay? God is eternal. The soul is his part. Therefore, the soul is also eternal. God is immortal. The soul is also immortal. As the soul is eternal, one need not be afraid of death at any time. Merge the mind and the intellect in your eternal, immortal self. This is the way to become a Sthita Prajna. Number 2. He has 10 of these. I don't know, how are we doing on time? 10 o'clock. I think we have time to read these, right? I'll try to go a little bit fast. Discriminate between the permanent and the impermanent. Reflect upon the pains to gain momentary happiness from the impermanent. Reflect also upon the glory of detachment from the cravings of the mind. Now dwell in the permanent, which is your own self. Assert your real nature constantly and be established there. This is the way to become a Sthita Prajna. Next, Om is the name of the nameless God. Om is the mystical symbol of Brahman. Om is the monosyllabic Sanskrit word. Om is the word that is God. God dwells within the soul. The name of God is Om. Therefore, repeat Om orally and mentally, constantly and uninterruptedly. You will gain the wisdom of God. You will be a Sthita Prajna. Number 4. Feel all of this is God. Feel God dwells in all. Meditating constantly on this thought, you will see God in everybody. Then you cannot hate anyone. You will feel love and unity towards all creatures. You are gaining cosmic love. This is the way of the Sthita Prajna. Number 5. Serve the needy and the poor. Serve your parents and teachers. Serve selflessly. Impart good thoughts. Speak the truth clearly and lovingly. All this is a great service. Through selfless service, you will be in immediate contact with Brahman, who is God. This is the way of the Sthita Prajna. Number 6. Read the lives of saints and sages. Read their teachings. Try to practice a few thoughts from them. Pray for their blessings. Make their thoughts your own by practicing them. Repeat the affirmation, God, accept me as thy servant, and you will be accepted. Be thou a Sthita Prajna. Number 7. There are 10 of these, so I'm on 7 now. Sing the holy name of God. While you sing, feel the presence of God. Feel that God hears your prayers. Feel that He will respond to your prayers. Sing with all love and devotion. Sing with sincerity. Sing for the love of God, for the grace of God. God will bless you with His love and grace. Be thou a Sthita Prajna. Number 8. I must realize God. Let this be your firm affirmation. God, kindly reveal thyself to me. Let this be your prayer. Sit collected and composed and allow God to work through you. Soon you will realize His love filling your soul. This is the way to become Sthita Prajna. Number 9. Be restless like a fish out of water. Be restless like a drowning man gasping for breath. Feel restless like a child after its mother. Let innocent tears flow. Let them reach the lotus feet of God. You will realize His protective hand. This is the way to become a Sthita Prajna. Number 10. Feel your existence with all existence. Existence absolute is Brahman. Feel the cosmic intelligence flowing through you and feel one with your consciousness. For absolute consciousness is Brahman. Be happy, for bliss is your essential nature. Feel and pray, let all be happy. Make this thought your whole being. Thus realize Brahman as bliss absolute. This is the way of a Sthita Prajna. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So I'm going to now take a look to see what, if anything is here so that I can see it. Okay, I have my computer on this side, so sorry I'm leaning over. Krishna and Krishnadas and Mirabai, or Mirabai and Krishnadas, they're here. And let me see on my thing here. This may be helpful. Let's see. Okay, so see, Mirabai and Krishnadas are here. Namaste, Shyam and Radha. Blessings to you and Mataji and your entire family, Mirabai and Krishnadas. I announced earlier that Amma is in India at the ashram, so she is doing good. A little bit jet lagged still. Our friend Leela is with her, staying with her full time, and Murli is there with her, so there's no problem. And then they go out to say, we can hear you and see you clearly, although the volume is lower than usual. I raised it a bit, and then he says it's better, right?
Okay.
I'm assuming this is Krishna saying this. And then they say, I love the image of tortoise withdrawing its limbs into its shell, just as we need to withdraw our senses from their objects. Isn't it beautiful? It's just this kind of imagery helps us to remember how to go through life. If we want, not everybody wants to be in a higher plane, I get that. But if you're on a spiritual track, you're trying to raise your level, if you will, raise your consciousness. These are the things that really anchor us on how to think about it and go forward. So thank you. I love that. I love that particular verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So here is Niranjani Singh from Trinidad. Niranjani, Namaste, Sitaram, welcome. Pranam, thank you for the reminders of the Lord's teachings to apply in daily life to control senses and become a better person. Yeah, thank you so much. And then we have Srimati Govindarajan. Namaste, sir. Namaste, Srimati. We appreciate you coming. We will sing one bhajan and then we'll wrap up. So thanks for you guys coming again. We haven't done this in nearly 2 months. So there is no proper way for me to advertise it to people. So what I'm doing is, according to the discussion that my son and I had earlier, if I just put a community post, people don't know. It just goes to random YouTube people. But to my subscribers, I cannot give them a reminder. So what I did today is tried something new. That is, put up a live stream 15 minutes in advance. That is at 8:45 Eastern. That is New York time, and saying that it will start at 9. Okay, 15 minutes later. We will always start at 9, but it gives to the subscribers, it should give a ping saying that there's something about to start. So, okay, that sounds good. So what we'll do is we'll sing a bhajan that is down below that my father composed. It's a very beautiful song. Many of you know this already. So it's good to sing this. Asa. I'll show you that. Hold on a second. No. Jai Jai Ram Krishna. Where is this? No, it's here. I'm sure of it. Give me a second. Congrats, 73. Okay. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari, Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari, Jai Jai Panduranga Hari Hari, Jai Jai Panduranga Hari, Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari, Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari, देवकी नंदन देव देवोत्तम देवकी नंदन देवकी नंदन देव देवोत्तम देवकी नंदन महाविष्णु अवतारी महाविष्णु अवतारी जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय पांडुरंग हरि हरि जय जय पांडुरंग हरि हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि परम पुरुष परमात्मा श्री 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 हरि पावन पूर्णावतारी पावन पूर्णावतारी जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण लीला मानुष विग्रह केशव लीला मानुष विग्रह केशव लीला मानुष विग्रह केशव लीला मानुष विग्रह केशव गोपाल लीलावतारी गोपाल लीलावतारी जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण दानव मर्दन केशव वामन दानव मर्दन केशव वामन यमुना तीर विहारी यमुना तीर विहारी जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि भजन योगनुत भक्तवत्सला भजन योगनुत भक्तवत्सला भवभय संकटहारी भवभय संकटहारी जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि दास केशवनुत दाशरथे रामा 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 दास केशवनुत कृष्णा प्रेमावतारी कृष्णा प्रेमावतारी जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय पांडुरंग हरि हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि राम कृष्ण हरि जय जय पांडुरंग 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 हरि Ram Krishna Hari, Jai Jai Pandurang Hari, Ram Krishna Ram Krishna Hari, Jai Jai Pandurang Hari, Ram Krishna Pandurang Hari, Pandurang Hari, Pandurang Hari. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Syavar Ramachandra ki jai. So I'll just check one more time, and then if there's nothing else, we will do our closing prayers and wrap up, if you don't mind. So I noticed I've placed Panduranga Ashtaka there at the very end. You can use it if you like. There are videos that I've made if you want to practice that. I think that's a wonderful thing. So anyway, closing prayers. Tumeva mata cha pita tumeva, tumeva bandhuscha sakha tumeva, tumeva vidya dravinam tumeva, tumeva sarvam mama deva deva. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmana va prakriti swabhavat karomi adya sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om shanti 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 loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Hari Om. Pandharinath Maharaj ki jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Syavar Ramachandra ki jai, Sadguru Maharaj ki jai. So thank you again for attending, and next time, next Sunday we'll do it again, same time. I'll do the same thing I did today, which is something I think is effective. We'll try to do the streaming 15 minutes ahead of 9 o'clock so that people have 15 minutes to prepare to show up for the 9 o'clock. We'll see how that goes. Okay, thanks again. God bless. Namaste.